Something is happening to you, and no part of your old life can explain it anymore. You wake up at 3 in the morning with your heart racing, even though nothing terrible happened the day before. You feel a strange weight in places of your body that never used to ache. You read words like spiritual awakening on the internet and your chest tightens, because somewhere deep inside you already know. You already know that what you are living is not burnout, not just stress, not a passing crisis. It is the quiet collapse of the version of you that no longer fits the life you built. And for some reason, you cannot find words for it. You try to tell someone close to you, and the sentence dies in your throat. You feel almost ridiculous trying to describe a transformation that nobody around you seems to recognize. So you scroll, you search, you watch videos like this one, hoping that finally someone will name what is moving inside you. Stay with me, because in the next minutes you will hear, one by one, the most overlooked signs of an awakening that is already happening in your body, in your nervous system, in your soul. The moment you recognize even 3 of them, you will understand why your life has been quietly reorganizing itself behind your back, almost without your permission. Most people believe a spiritual awakening is loud, mystical, full of visions and divine light. The truth is far more subtle and far more uncomfortable than that. An awakening rarely begins as joy. It begins as restlessness. It begins as a soft suffering that has no clear cause. You start sensing that something is wrong in how you live, in how you speak, in how you spend your hours, in how you let other people drain your energy. And no logical explanation calms that feeling down. Your nervous system has begun to remember a frequency that is not available in your current routine. That is why everything that used to fit suddenly feels too tight. The job that used to be enough, the friendships that once felt safe, the entertainment that used to distract you, all of them start to lose their grip on your attention. If this is already familiar, gently subscribe to this channel, because what you will discover in this video is the map most people never receive while they are crossing this exact passage. The first true sign of awakening is the slow death of your tolerance for what is not honest. You begin to notice manipulation in places you never noticed before. You feel physically uncomfortable in environments full of forced smiles. You cannot pretend the way you used to pretend. Small lies, polite excuses, fake conversations, all of them start to hurt your chest in a way you cannot ignore. And when you try to participate anyway, your body resists. Your throat closes. Your stomach turns. Your shoulders tense up like they are warning you. This is not anxiety, even if every doctor calls it that. This is a deeper intelligence inside you refusing to keep agreeing with what is not true. The second sign is a strange and persistent shift in your relationship with sleep. You wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning, almost every night for weeks, often with images, memories, or a quiet feeling that something inside you is being rearranged in silence. This is a known window of deep nervous system reset, and your body has begun to use it on purpose. Pay attention, because awakening loves the hours when the world is finally quiet enough for your soul to speak directly to you. You may try to sleep again, but the silence keeps calling you back. Some part of you is being downloaded, reprogrammed, retuned to a frequency your daytime life cannot easily hold. Many people fight this. They drug themselves to keep sleeping. They scroll their phones to escape the discomfort. They distract themselves the moment that inner voice starts whispering. But those who stay awake, those who listen, those who breathe through the strange silence of that hour, begin to receive things words cannot easily translate. Insights, clarity, a sudden understanding of a pattern that controlled their entire life without them realizing it. Old decisions become understandable. Old wounds become readable. Old people become finally recognizable for who they always were. If you have already lived this kind of 3 in the morning visit, you are not insane. You are not broken. You are not late. You are being called. And the moment you start treating that call as sacred information, instead of an annoying symptom, the entire process begins to soften, accelerate, and reveal its hidden purpose to you in ways you cannot yet imagine. The third sign of awakening lives in your body, and it is the one almost no one talks about clearly enough. Your physical sensations begin to intensify in ways that feel almost embarrassing to explain to anyone around you. A noise that never bothered anyone now feels like a small electric shock in your skull. A perfume that everyone loves suddenly gives you a headache that lasts for hours. A meal you used to enjoy now sits in your stomach like a stone for the entire afternoon. Your skin begins to react to fabrics, to fluorescent lights, to crowded environments, to the energy of certain people. Your nervous system is becoming a more accurate instrument, and that means it is filtering less of the world than it used to. What used to pass through you now lands inside you and stays there. This is not a malfunction. This is upgrading. Your sensory system is opening because your soul needs more information than your body was used to receiving. The problem is that the modern world is loud, fast, chemical, and aggressive. So while you become more refined, the environment becomes more painful in contrast. This contrast is what creates the famous awakening fatigue, an exhaustion that no amount of sleep can repair, because it is not physical tiredness. It is the cost of perceiving more reality than you have learned how to process. If this video is already touching something true inside you, take a moment to like it, because that small gesture helps other people who are silently going through the same passage find the same words you are finding now, and you will be quietly helping someone you will never meet. The fourth sign is a quiet revolution in your relationship with food, alcohol, caffeine, and every stimulant you use to lean on. You may notice that the one glass of wine that once relaxed you now leaves you anxious for 2 full days. The coffee that used to wake you up now gives you a strange tremor in your hands. The processed snacks you grew up eating now taste artificial in a way you simply cannot ignore. Some people become almost intolerant to sugar, to gluten, to heavy meats, not because of a diet decision, but because the body simply refuses almost overnight. This is not random. As your vibration changes, your biology begins to reject substances that lower it, and to crave nourishment that supports the version of you that is emerging. You are becoming an instrument that no longer plays in the old key, and your kitchen will be one of the first places to reflect that. The fifth sign is a deep restlessness around your work and your purpose. The career path that used to seem reasonable now feels suffocating, even when it pays well, even when others would envy your position from the outside. You start questioning what you are doing with your hours, with your skills, with your one and only life on this planet. You feel called to something else, and yet you cannot fully name it yet. This is one of the most painful phases of awakening, because the old life still works on paper while the inside of you already knows it is over. Many people try to numb this feeling with anything available. They scroll for hours. They overwork. They drink. They shop online compulsively. They start fights to feel something familiar again. But the call keeps returning, especially in the moments of stillness, especially right before sleep, especially in the shower, especially when nothing else is loud enough to drown it out. That call is not depression. It is direction. It is your soul pointing at a door you have been afraid to open for years. The sixth sign is an unexpected emotional fragility that almost embarrasses you in public. Songs make you cry that never moved you before. The sky at sunset feels almost unbearable in its beauty. A small kindness from a stranger can collapse you in seconds and leave you trembling. You may feel ashamed of how much you are feeling, because the world taught you to be efficient, productive, unbothered, composed at all times. But what is happening is sacred. Your heart is reopening after years of being locked behind silent armor. The armor you built to survive certain relationships, certain losses, certain childhood years is melting away. And underneath that armor lives a much more sensitive version of you, the version that was always there, waiting patiently for the moment when it would finally be safe to come back to the surface and breathe. The seventh sign of awakening is one of the most disorienting in the entire process, and it explains why so many people feel painfully lonely in this passage, even when they are surrounded by others. You begin to feel everyone, their moods, their tensions, their silent pain, their unspoken jealousy, their hidden fears. You walk into a room and within seconds you know who is fake, who is suffering, who is hiding something heavy behind a polite smile. You leave conversations exhausted without knowing why. You absorb the emotional residue of people who barely said a word to you. This intensified empathy is not a flaw in your design. It is the reactivation of your emotional radar, a kind of biological perception that has been muted in most of the population by stress, by distraction, by constant overstimulation, by media that trains you to ignore your own signals. As your nervous system begins to regulate itself, that radar comes back online, and at first it can be completely overwhelming. You may feel like a sponge that cannot stop absorbing the room. You may cry on the way home from a party that everyone else considered fun and easy. You may need hours of silence just to return to yourself after a single phone call with the wrong person. This is the moment where learning to protect your energy is no longer optional. It becomes survival. Save this video because you will return to it more than once as new layers of this process unfold inside you. And each layer will reveal a meaning you cannot yet receive today. The 8th sign is an obsession with truth that nothing on the surface can satisfy. You begin to question religion, science, politics, your own family stories, the version of yourself you used to tell at parties for years. You feel hungry for something more real, more raw, more honest, more useful. Information that once entertained you now bores you almost instantly. Stories that once impressed you now feel hollow and forgettable. You want depth, and the world keeps offering you noise dressed up as content. So you begin to filter your inputs with a new precision. You stop watching certain shows. You unfollow certain accounts. You walk away from certain conversations halfway through. People around you may say you have become arrogant, distant, judgmental, or strange. The truth is much simpler than that. You have stopped paying with your attention for content that lowers your frequency. You have stopped funding distractions that pull you away from the version of yourself that is finally emerging through the cracks. The 9th sign is a hyper-awareness of your own thoughts that almost feels like a parallel mind has woken up. You begin to notice the voice in your head, not just listen to it. You catch yourself mid-sentence judging someone, and a part of you steps back and says, that is not actually what you believe deep down. You hear the old criticism replaying inside, and for the first time you recognize it as a recording, not a truth. You hear your mother, your father, your old teachers, your former partners, still speaking through your inner monologue, and you finally identify the voice that does not belong to you. This is the beginning of true inner separation. The moment where the observer inside you wakes up and starts dethroning the automatic mind. This is where real freedom begins to take shape. Up to this point, your thoughts were running you. From now on, slowly you start running them. It is uncomfortable at first because you discover how much of what you call your personality was actually conditioning. How much was inherited fear? How much was unprocessed pain dressed up as opinion? The 10th sign is the strange feeling of being a stranger in your own home. The walls look the same. The furniture is the same. The photographs are still on the shelves. And yet something in the air feels off, almost foreign. The energy of the place no longer matches the energy you are becoming. You start rearranging things without planning it. You feel the urge to throw away clothes, books, decorations, gifts, objects that suddenly carry a frequency that no longer belongs to you. Some people change cities. Some people change jobs. Some people simply change the position of a chair, repaint a wall, or move a single plant, and feel a wave of relief they cannot explain. Your space is responding to your transformation. Your environment is the outer mirror of your inner reorganization. And every small adjustment is a quiet declaration that you are no longer the same person who built that old life. If this resonates, comment one word below, just one word, that describes how you are feeling right now in your body. That word will help you remember this exact point in your journey when you look back later. The 11th sign of awakening is the painful and absolutely necessary dissolution of relationships that no longer match your frequency. People you used to call best friends start to feel like distant acquaintances almost overnight. Conversations that once filled your heart now feel performative, scripted, transactional. You realize you have been the emotional support of someone for years, and that person never once asked how you truly were. You realize a partner has been draining you under the disguise of love. You realize a family member uses your kindness as a refill station, never giving anything back. This recognition is brutal. It often arrives with grief, with guilt, with the haunting question of whether you are the one who has become cold, selfish, or wrong. You are not. You are simply seeing for the first time, with eyes that have stopped being trained to deny what was always in front of you. The relationships that were built on the old version of you are now being weighed by the new version of you, and many of them will not survive that weighing. Some people will leave on their own, feeling that you have changed and they no longer know how to reach you. Others you will need to release with respect and silence, no drama, no announcement, no big farewell. The release is not always loud. Sometimes the soul simply stops feeding the connection, and the connection naturally dissolves like fog in the morning. This pruning is sacred. Empty spaces in your social life are not signs of failure. They are signs that the universe is making room for the new frequency people who are already waiting to enter your life through doors only your transformation can open. Share this video with someone who is silently going through this exact loss right now, because they need to hear that this loneliness has a name, a purpose, and an ending. The 12th sign is a sudden, almost primal longing for nature. even if you used to consider yourself a fully urban, indoor, screen-oriented person. You start craving trees, water, wind, raw earth. You feel an almost physical relief when you take off your shoes on grass. You linger near plants in supermarkets. You stare at the sky longer than usual for no reason. You feel something inside you align when you hear birds, when you stand near the ocean, when you walk in silence under tall trees that have been alive longer than your great-grandparents. This is not aesthetic preference or a passing mood. This is your biological field remembering its original environment. Modern life keeps you wrapped in concrete, screens, fluorescent light, and electromagnetic noise that your body never evolved to handle. As you awaken, your body begins to demand the frequencies of the natural world to recalibrate itself daily. Even 10 minutes of bare feet on the ground can shift your entire mood. Even a single houseplant in your bedroom can change the energy of the room you wake up in. Your awakening is not just spiritual. It is profoundly biological, profoundly electric, profoundly cellular. The 13th sign is a deep, quiet compassion arising for people you used to judge harshly. You begin to look at a stranger on the street and feel their unspoken story almost instantly. You notice an angry coworker and instead of reacting, you sense the wounded child still living inside that adult body. You see your own parents through new eyes, recognizing the unprocessed pain they passed to you, and how much of it was never their conscious choice. This compassion is not weakness. It is not naive. You still set your boundaries. You still protect yourself from people who refuse to grow. But the bitterness that used to fuel you starts to dissolve, because you can finally see the wound under the behavior, the fear under the cruelty, the unspoken loneliness under the noise. This is one of the most healing shifts of the entire awakening, because it releases the enormous amount of energy you used to spend hating, judging, and silently replaying old conflicts in your mind at night. The 14th sign is a profound discomfort with small talk. Conversations about the weather, about gossip, about other people, about superficial entertainment now feel almost physically painful to participate in. You catch yourself drifting away in social events, looking out the window, counting the minutes. You answer politely, but inside you are silently asking, what are we doing here? What is the point of this? You crave conversations about meaning, about consciousness, about purpose, about the hidden patterns behind why we suffer and why we heal. Most people around you are not ready for those conversations yet, so you start choosing silence. And silence, for the first time in your life, stops feeling lonely, starts feeling like home. It starts feeling like the most honest thing in a noisy, performative world. The 15th sign of awakening is one that often arrives unannounced and shakes the very foundation of your identity from the inside out. You start asking quietly at first, then more insistently, who am I really beneath all the labels? The labels that used to define you, the profession on your business card, the role in the family, the nationality, the religion you grew up with, the personality you presented to the world for years, begin to feel like costumes you no longer recognize as yours. You wonder how much of what you call yourself was actually chosen by you in any real sense, and how much was simply inherited, absorbed, accepted because there was no alternative on the menu at the time. This existential vertigo is not a breakdown. It is the very signature of real awakening unfolding inside you. You are stepping out of the inherited self, and that necessary process requires the temporary discomfort of not knowing who you are. Most people run from this gap as fast as they can. They grab a new title, a new diet, a new spiritual identity, a new group, a new hobby, anything to fill the void with a fresh costume before the silence becomes unbearable. But those who can sit inside the not knowing, even for a few weeks or months, are the ones who finally meet the version of themselves that was never invented by anyone else. The 16th sign is a sudden return of childhood memories, especially small ones that seem irrelevant on the surface. A scent on the street and suddenly you remember a moment from when you were 5 years old, vivid, complete, almost three-dimensional. A song on the radio and a forgotten chapter of your life lights up inside you with full color. Sometimes the memories are tender, sweet, comforting. Sometimes they are uncomfortable. Sometimes they reveal events you had buried so deep you almost convinced yourself they never happened. This is not random. The same nervous system that protected you by hiding those memories is now stable enough to bring them back into the light, gently, in pieces, to be finally integrated and released. Awakening is not just about reaching higher dimensions. It is about returning with adult love to all the parts of you that were left behind in the years when you were too small to defend them. Save this video again if you need to, because you will revisit these signs at different stages of your own opening, and each time you will recognize a deeper layer of meaning. The 17th sign is a deep sensitivity to media. You can no longer watch certain types of films without feeling sick. Violence on the screen leaves you shaken for hours afterward. The news creates a real physical sensation in your chest that you cannot reason away. Reality shows that once entertained you now feel embarrassing to watch. Your body reacts because, energetically, you cannot tell the difference between what is fiction and what is real life. The images enter you, vibrate in you, and stay there inside your field. This is why so many awakening people instinctively turn off their televisions, delete certain apps, and curate their digital environment with a new level of intentional discipline. You are not becoming antisocial. You are becoming selective with what you allow inside your inner temple, because that temple is finally being recognized as sacred. The 18th sign is the recurring appearance of meaningful number sequences. You start seeing the same numbers everywhere, on clocks, on receipts, on plates of cars, on phone numbers, on the screens of your devices. First you think it is coincidence. Then you start laughing nervously because it is too consistent to be random. These numbers are not magic in themselves. They are bookmarks placed by your higher awareness to remind you that you are on the right track, that you are being seen by something larger than your conscious mind, that there is a quiet order behind the apparent chaos of your daily life. The skeptic in you will resist this. Let it. The deeper part of you already knows. The 19th sign is the sudden appearance of unusual, vivid, symbolic dreams. They become more layered, more meaningful, sometimes lucid. You meet people you have never met, but who feel deeply familiar to your soul. You visit places you do not recognize but feel like home. You wake up with information your conscious mind clearly did not have the night before. The dream world has always been one of the main channels through which awakening communicates with you. Because in dreams the noise of the daily mind quiets down enough for the subtle messages to land. Keep a notebook near your bed from now on. The fragments you write at 3 in the morning often become the keys you will need 3 months later. The 20th sign of awakening is the often unsettling experience of synchronicities that seem too precise to be random accidents anymore. You think of someone and minutes later they call you out of nowhere. You ask an inner question, and the exact answer appears in the next podcast, the next book, the next conversation with a stranger at the bus stop. You feel a sudden irrational urge to take a different route home, and that small choice leads you to meet someone who quietly changes your life. The skeptical mind tries to explain it away as confirmation bias or selective memory. The awakened body knows otherwise because it feels the difference. You are stepping out of the random universe and into a participatory one, where your inner state begins to shape, attract, and reveal the outer world with much greater clarity than before. This does not mean you become magical or untouchable, or in control of everything. It means you become aware of a quiet current that was always running underneath the surface of your life, but which you were too distracted to notice. The 21st sign is a slow, persistent inner pull toward solitude. Not the depressive kind of isolation, but a deliberate withdrawal that feels almost like a magnetic field guiding you home to yourself. You crave time alone the way other people crave food or social validation. You start canceling plans without guilt for the first time in your life. You stop apologizing for needing personal space. You discover that solitude is not the absence of others. It is the rich presence of yourself. This is one of the most healing aspects of awakening, because for many years your nervous system was tuned to constant external input, constant relationships, constant performance, constant low-level reaction. Now it finally has the permission to rest, to listen inward, to rebuild itself in silence and stillness. Solitude becomes your laboratory, your sanctuary, your second skin. If you have been quietly choosing solitude over noisy plans recently, do not feel guilty about it. You are following an intelligence that is older and wiser than your social calendar. Subscribe to this channel if you have not yet, because each video we publish is carefully designed to support exactly this kind of inward journey, in your own time at your own pace without rushing your unfolding. The 22nd sign is a strange shift in your relationship with time itself. Hours feel longer than they used to. Days feel slower. You may look at the calendar and feel that the last 6 months contain the transformation of an entire decade, and you almost cannot believe it. You may also have moments where time seems to disappear completely, when you are walking, breathing deeply, doing something simple, and an entire hour passes without you noticing. This altered perception of time is not your imagination playing tricks. As your nervous system regulates and your awareness deepens, the linear, anxious, productivity-oriented experience of time begins to dissolve into something more fluid and alive. You start living in the present in a way that used to be only a slogan on motivational posters in offices. The 23rd sign is a much deeper relationship with sound and silence. Music that used to be background noise becomes either irresistible or completely unbearable. You start preferring instrumental sounds, low frequencies, ambient textures, sacred chants, the hum of nature. You become aware of the energetic difference between songs, between voices, between rhythms, even between the quality of two recordings of the same piece. Some music heals you instantly. Some music gives you headaches in the first 30 seconds. Your ear has become a spiritual organ, recognizing vibrations that were completely invisible to you before. This is why so many people in the awakening process eventually arrive at sound healing, at specific frequencies, at sacred chanting, at instrumental compositions that seem to speak directly to their cells. The 24th sign is the emergence of what feels like an inner voice that does not sound like your everyday mind. It is calmer, slower, wiser, speaks in short, complete sentences. It rarely panics about anything. It often arrives during the simplest moments, in the shower, on a quiet walk, in the few seconds after waking before the noise of the day begins. This inner voice has always been there inside you. The awakening is the moment when the volume of mental noise drops just enough for you to finally hear it. Trust it carefully at first. Test it gently. Notice how its guidance, when followed, brings you toward more peace, more honesty, more alignment with your real path. The voice of the awakened self does not push you. It points. It does not scream. It whispers. And the more you obey it, the more clearly it speaks. The 25th sign of awakening is a quiet revolution in how you spend your money and your attention. You begin to notice the emotional charge behind every single purchase you make. You see how much you used to buy out of stress, out of boredom, out of identity, out of the desire to belong somewhere, out of the need to soothe an inner wound that no object could ever truly heal. As your awareness sharpens, the impulse to consume mindlessly starts losing its grip on you. You walk into a store and feel almost foreign, as if you no longer speak that language fluently. You start preferring fewer items but of better quality. Fewer clothes but ones that feel honest on your skin. Fewer experiences but ones that actually nourish your soul. This is not minimalism as a passing trend. This is your nervous system telling you with new clarity that every object in your environment carries energy, and every purchase is a tiny vote for the world you are building inside and outside yourself. The 26th sign is an unexpected return of creativity. You suddenly want to draw, write, dance, sing, plant, decorate, build, cook with real intention. Capacities you forgot you ever had, or never knew you had, begin to surface from somewhere deep inside you. This is not because you became artistic overnight by accident. It is because the energy that used to be locked inside emotional patterns, fears, and inherited beliefs is finally being released into your hands. And creative expression is one of the natural channels through which this freed energy flows out into the world. Even people who never considered themselves creative discover, during awakening, that they need a creative outlet just to stay mentally and emotionally sane. Without it, the energy builds up and turns into anxiety, irritability, insomnia. With it, the same energy transforms into beauty, into meaning, into legacy, into something you can leave behind that did not exist before you. The 27th sign is a recurring, almost daily impulse to simplify your entire life. You want fewer commitments on your calendar. You want fewer notifications on your phone. You want fewer screens around your bed. You feel a strong pull to delete apps you use for years almost compulsively. You feel a relief in canceling subscriptions you forgot you even had. You crave clean surfaces, open shelves, breathing room between objects. This is the outer expression of the inner clarity that is forming inside you, layer by layer. Your soul wants less clutter because your inner field is finally becoming spacious enough to feel its own presence again. If your home is starting to look lighter, emptier, calmer without you fully understanding why, you are firmly on the path. Save this video so you can come back to these signs whenever the inner shift gets confusing, because awakening tends to scramble your old reference points before giving you new ones that actually fit. The 28th sign is a profound change in your relationship with your own body. You start listening to it instead of forcing it through your day. You rest when you are tired, even if your old self would call you lazy for it. You stretch when you feel tight, even if you used to ignore those signals for years. You drink more water not because of a rule, but because your body actually asks for it. You notice subtle hungers, subtle aversions, subtle tensions in your shoulders, in your jaw, in your stomach. The body that was once treated as a machine forced to perform is now being recognized as the temple it always was. Many people during awakening also begin to perceive their body as more luminous, more sensitive, more electric than before. Tingling sensations in the hands, waves of warmth that move through the chest without reason, sudden chills along the spine in moments of insight, slow energetic movements along the back of the neck. These phenomena are well known in many ancient traditions, and they signal that your subtle anatomy is becoming much more active than your modern routine ever asked of it. The 29th sign is a quiet, persistent sense of being prepared for something you cannot yet name. You feel quietly summoned by your own future. You feel that everything you have lived, including the worst chapters of your story, is being woven into a purpose larger than you. You start meeting people who mention exactly the topics you have been silently studying alone. You stumble upon books that answer questions you never said out loud to anyone. You feel guided, even when the outer world looks uncertain. This is not fantasy. This is the alignment that happens when your inner self finally agrees to step forward and serve the specific gift it carries. The 30th sign of awakening is one of the most uncomfortable to face because it disguises itself as failure to everyone around you. You suddenly lose interest in goals that used to define you completely. The promotion you were chasing for years now feels strangely meaningless. The lifestyle you used to dream about now feels small and predictable. The image of success you built carefully in your mind starts to look like a costume designed by someone else decades ago when you were too young to know better. You may even feel a strange sadness, a kind of grief for the version of you that worked so hard to reach a destination you no longer want to arrive at. This is not laziness. This is realignment. The deeper part of you is refusing to keep paying with your precious energy for a life that does not match your real frequency. Many people resist this phase fiercely, because society has trained them to confuse persistence with virtue under every circumstance. But persistence in the wrong direction is not strength. It is sleep dressed up as discipline, and awakening, by its very definition, is the end of that particular kind of sleep. The 31st sign is a strong inner resistance to your own transformation, even though you are the one who wanted it. Yes, even though you crave the awakening, parts of you fight it from the inside. You miss the old you. You miss being able to laugh at things that now feel hollow and stale. You miss being able to numb yourself with the same drink, the same series, the same gossip you used to enjoy without question. You miss the simplicity of not feeling everything around you so intensely. This resistance is completely normal. It is your nervous system trying to return to familiar territory, even when that territory was making you quietly sick for years. Awakening is not a straight line upward toward heaven. It is a spiral. You will rise, you will dip, you will rise again, and each cycle leaves you a little more anchored in the new frequency than the cycle before. Be patient with the parts of you that hesitate, that want to go back, that feel terrified of who you are becoming. They are not your enemies. They are scared parts of you. They need time. They need reassurance. They need to be brought along, not silenced. The 32nd sign is the appearance of teachers, books, channels, voices that seem to find you at the exact right moment in your unfolding. You did not search for this video by accident today. Your inner state created a specific frequency that matches the content you are receiving right now, in this very minute. This is the universal principle of resonance, and it operates with surgical precision in everyone who is ready to notice it. The teachers do not arrive when you wish them. They arrive when you are truly ready to integrate what they bring. And readiness is not intellectual. Readiness is energetic, emotional, somatic, cellular. If this voice is making you feel something deeper than mere curiosity right now, share this video with someone you sense is also approaching their own opening, slowly and silently. You may be the bookmark in their journey, just as someone else has been a quiet bookmark in yours. The 33rd sign is a powerful, undeniable feeling of being on a mission, even if you cannot yet describe its shape. You start sensing that your life is not random, that your sensitivity is not a flaw, that your suffering was not wasted, that even the most painful chapters of your story were silently preparing you to be useful in a way that only you can be. This sense of mission does not arrive as a fantasy of fame, recognition, or grandeur. It arrives as a quiet, almost shy certainty that grows stronger every week. You may not know yet what your mission is, but you know it is real, you know it is yours, and you know it has something to do with helping others find what you are finding in your own way. The 34th sign is a deeper, embodied connection with something larger than yourself. You may not call it God. You may not call it the universe. You may not call it source or spirit. You may not even have a name for it yet, and that is fine. But you start sensing a presence behind life, an intelligence in every coincidence, a quiet companionship even in your most solitary moments at night. This connection does not require any religion. It does not require ceremony. It does not even require belief. It is the natural recognition that arises when your nervous system becomes regulated enough and your heart becomes open enough to perceive the field you were always living inside. Comment below if you have already felt this presence even once in your life. The 35th sign of awakening is the slow but undeniable shift in how you now handle suffering when it arrives at your door. Pain still comes, losses still happen, conflicts still arise, disappointments still appear, but you no longer collapse in the same way you used to collapse. You feel the wave fully. You let it pass through you. You do not glue yourself to the story behind it for weeks at a time. You do not feed it with hours of mental rehearsal and inner debate. You witness it with a softer eye, knowing now that suffering is part of being alive, but no longer the center of who you are. This is one of the most powerful and quiet gifts of awakening. You stop being a hostage of your own emotions, while still honoring every single one of them as sacred information. The 36th sign is the spontaneous return of moments of pure joy, for no apparent external reason at all. You are simply walking down the street, or drinking a glass of water, or watching the light change on the wall of your room, and suddenly your chest fills with a quiet, complete gratitude that surprises you. Nothing extraordinary happened in that moment, and yet everything around you feels exactly enough, exactly right, exactly alive. These small awakenings inside the larger awakening are reliable markers that your baseline frequency has truly changed, deep underneath the noise of your daily life. You no longer need a special event to feel alive. Life itself, in its simplest moments, becomes the event you were waiting for. The 37th sign is a deep, embodied trust in yourself and in the path. Not the trust that everything will be perfect from now on. Not the trust that nothing painful will happen to you again. But the trust that whatever happens, you will know how to walk through it without losing yourself in the process. You have walked through more than you ever thought you could survive. You have outlived versions of yourself that almost ended you. You have witnessed the rebirth of your own life from the inside more than once. And that experiential knowing is something no one can ever take from you, because it lives in your nervous system now, in your cells, in your bones. The 38th and most overlooked sign of all is the moment you finally realize that this awakening is not happening only to you in isolation. It is happening to humanity as a whole, in slow waves, in scattered pockets, in millions of individuals spread across the planet right now, each one feeling slightly mad, slightly lonely, slightly out of place in a world that has not yet caught up. You are part of a quiet collective remembering that has been building for decades and is now accelerating in ways that history will eventually try to explain. And every single time one of you stabilizes in the new frequency, the field becomes a little easier for the next person who is just beginning. That is why your healing is not selfish. It is contribution. It is service. It is your most concrete and lasting act of love for the world you live in. So if even a single sign in this video matched something living inside you right now, take a slow breath and let yourself receive what you have just remembered today. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not exaggerating any of it. You are exactly on time for the path that was always quietly yours from the beginning. Subscribe to this channel because the next videos will guide you step by step through how to stabilize this awakening in your body, in your nervous system, in your daily life, so you can stop oscillating between expansion and exhaustion. Save this video in a private playlist that only you can see, so you can return to it on the days when you forget how far you have already traveled inside yourself. Share it with one person who is silently going through the same passage right now, because they need to hear, in their own language and in their own time, that what they are feeling has a name, a meaning, and a destination. Like this video to help it find the others who are searching in this very moment for the exact words you have just received. And comment one sign from this list that hit you the deepest in your chest, because that one sign is the key, the door, the next step of your own opening. You are awakening. It is happening now. It is real. And from this point forward, every breath you take consciously is a small, sacred declaration that you are no longer asleep.